All right, if you are a college football fan, this video's for you. This is me predicting the conference championship games and the playoff rankings. Mainly the final four, the top four, the four teams, which four teams or which of the four best teams will be going to the college football playoff semifinals. That's right. Okay? I'm making this video because this is probably the biggest conference championship Saturday ever. Yeah. In terms of rankings, because this is the final year. This is the final year where the college football playoff is four teams in it. Next year, it's going to be 12 teams. I know. That's really going to happen. That'll be weird when it first happens. But this is the final year of the semifinals, a four-team playoff. All right. Before I start making predictions, this is what we currently have. This is the current rankings right now. Georgia's number 1, Michigan's number 2, Washington's number 3, Florida State's number 4, Oregon's number 5, Ohio State's number 6, Texas is number 7, and Alabama is number 8. So yes, all these 8 teams have a shot in the college football playoff. Yeah, that's a lot of teams. That's why I believe this is the biggest conference championship Saturday ever. Weekend, I should say, because Sunday, the day after, is Selection Sunday. You know, they have that long show on ESPN during NFL Sunday where they reveal the Final Four and the big bowl games, the big bowl matchups, mainly the New Year's Six bowls. Yeah, that's on a Sunday afternoon. It's kind of weird that they always do that during the NFL Sunday. You think they wouldn't do that. They should do that, I don't know, Monday afternoon. Well, I guess they don't want to because everyone's at work and school. But what about Tuesday night? You know, the past month on Tuesday nights, they have that college football playoff selection show where they reveal the playoff rankings. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know what the exact name is. Anyway, but these are the rankings before the conference championship games. That's right. First of all, before I start, I want to say that I used to watch a lot of college football, but this year was the least I've watched because I'm a big CFL fan, the Canadian Football League, and a lot of their games are on a college football Saturday, so. But their season just ended, and that's when college football gets great, anyways, right? Bowl Mania's coming up, the most wonderful time of the year. So, yeah, I'm gonna get back into it. All right, and I'm also gonna talk about what happens if this team wins and this team loses. All right, but first, let me do my predictions of the conference championship games, and after that, I will do my rankings predictions because this is gonna be tough for the committee. It's like people are saying, you know what, man, we wish we have this 12-team playoff format this year. And if we do, there wouldn't be any problems. But why can't it be 8 teams? Like, look, there's 8 teams. 8 teams have a shot in the playoff. If they have an 8-team playoff format, no problem. All right, let's get to it. So, I'm making my predictions on ESPN.com called College Pick'em. This is where they also have Bowl Mania. All right, here we go. So, we got a few games on Friday night. The Conference USA Championship between New Mexico State and number 24 Liberty. First of all, New Mexico State recently, not too long ago, they had their biggest win ever. They beat Auburn. They beat an SEC team on the road. Yes, Auburn is not that great this year, but still, no one thought New Mexico State would beat Auburn. And not only that, they beat them by 2 touchdowns, I think. What was it, like a 24-10 final score? I mean, wow. Holy crap. I mean, that could have been their bowl game, New Mexico State versus Auburn. But anyway, Liberty, they've been pretty good the past couple of years. 91% picked this team to win, and they're undefeated. They are undefeated. Where is this game at? Is it a Liberty home game? Where is this game at? This game's in Virginia. So I guess this is where the Liberty Flames are playing, right? Okay. Well, if it's a home game, I'm going to pick the Liberty Flames. But I won't be too surprised if New Mexico State pulls this off. I think this will be a close one, but I don't think a lot of people will be watching this because a lot of people will be watching this game. This game comes on an hour later. The Pac-12 Championship. The final year of the Pac-12. Is that true? Like, this is it? After this year, the Pac-12 is dead? I heard that the Pac-12 network will be dead after this season. A network that a lot of people don't tune in, unless if you live in the Pacific time zone. But if you live in Eastern Central Time, yeah, you're not going to be tuning into that network very much. But we got a rematch between the number 5 Oregon Ducks and the number 3 Washington Huskies. These two teams played each other earlier this year. The game was in Washington. Washington won, but it was a pretty tight game. This is a neutral field, neutral site. This game is being played in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. That nice stadium, that's right. And I'm surprised that, look at the votes. 61% picked Oregon, 39% picked Washington. Washington's undefeated. Oregon has 1 loss, and that was to Washington. This is a must-win for both teams. More for Oregon because there's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff. And I believe that Washington, their last couple of games were close wins, right? But Oregon, not so much. They've beaten Oregon State on the road pretty easily. Wait, was that game on the road or at home? I forgot. But they beat them pretty easily. Oregon State's actually pretty good this year, by the way. I believe Oregon will get revenge this time, and they will beat Washington. And now to the Saturday games. The first one, the Big 12 championship game in Arlington, playing at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of the Cowboys, the Oklahoma State Cowboys are in it. They're ranked number 18, 9-3, taking on the best team in the Big 12, the number 7 Texas Longhorns, that had 1 loss against Oklahoma. I actually watched that game, by the way. Yeah. That game's always a close one and kind of high scoring. And I thought for sure these two teams, I thought for sure the Big 12 championship game would be Oklahoma and Texas, a rematch. But no, Oklahoma State is in it. And their last game, Oklahoma State, was against BYU. I was actually watching some of that. They barely beat BYU in overtime. And BYU's not that great, you know? And that game was at home. And I believe Oklahoma Sooners, they lost to Kansas. And they probably lost another game. That's probably how they got eliminated. But look at the votes. 90% picked the Texas Longhorns to win this. You know, this is the last. This is Texas' last year in the Big 12, because next year both Texas and Oklahoma will be joining the SEC. Well, I believe this game will be close. I don't think. I know Texas is a big favorite, but part of me thinks this game will be close. But I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorns. But I can see Oklahoma State pull off the upset. And this is the same Oklahoma State team that lost at home to South Alabama. They did. What was it, like 33-7 or something? It was bad. Like, let me show you. Let me show you the score. Even though that was back in September, but look, Oklahoma State, yeah, they lost at home to South freaking Alabama. Back in September 16th on ESPN Plus. And they somehow got in the Big 12 championship. Wow, they got crushed at UCF. 45-3. I did not see that one. But they beat Oklahoma. Yeah, I forgot. Oklahoma State beat the Oklahoma Sooners. Man, that's crazy. But I got to go with the Texas Longhorns to win the Big 12 championship. All right, we got the MAC. I forgot what that stands for, between the Miami, Ohio Redhawks and Toledo Rockets. I believe this is a home game for Toledo. Let's see. Yes, it is. Wait. No, they're in Ford Field. Huh. Well, I don't really know. I know nothing about these two teams, so I'm going to go with the underdogs. Why not? Mountain West Championship, Boise State. Oh wow, they're in it a lot. They're in the Mountain West Championship a bunch of times. They're taking on the UNLV Rebels. That's Las Vegas, by the way, and the game is in Las Vegas. It's a home game for the Rebels. I'll go with Boise State. Just because I like to watch that team sometimes, even though I didn't watch them at all this year, but I like their blue field. But hey, they got the Idaho Potato Bowl there every year, right? Yeah. Oh boy, here we go. SEC championship game. The number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, 12-0, taking on the number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide, 11-1. Is this the very last SEC game on CBS? If so, I'm glad that it is. SEC on CBS, in my opinion, is not the same anymore. It's not good anymore. I think people are tired of it. You know, it was awesome back when Vern Lundquist was the announcer. Those were the glory days of the SEC on CBS. It was still pretty good after he retired. He retired 7 years ago, by the way, in 2016. His final game was the Army-Navy game, when Army finally beat Navy, first time in over, what is it, like 15 years or something? Yeah, so like 2017, 2018, 2019, those were still pretty good years. To me, this is to me, SEC on CBS. Since the pandemic, it's gone down to garbage. I'm sorry. So, and now CBS also has Big Ten games, which is very weird in my opinion, because Big Ten games are also on Fox, and NBC and even ABC. Like Big Ten football's on all the networks. All right, so yeah, it's been almost 2 years since Georgia faced Alabama in the national championship game. Also, 2 years ago, these two teams played each other in the SEC championship game, and that's where Alabama won that game. What was the score? 41 to 28, 27, I think. And they were slightly the underdog, Alabama. This is a must-win for Alabama. It is. And let me tell you, I saw that ending when they played against Auburn. Just unbelievable. Fourth and goal from what, the 30-yard line or something like that? Holy crap. I've never seen anything like that. And no one thought that game would be close, especially after Auburn lost at home to New Mexico State. But wow. Anyway, this game is in Atlanta, home of the Atlanta Falcons. Well, because this is a must-win for Alabama, I am going to pick them to win. But I have no idea. I feel like Alabama needs to, like, beat Georgia really bad. I can't see that happening. But, you know this game is always something. Yeah. These two teams again. The two red teams. Alright, moving on. This game's on at the same time. The American Athletic Championship between SMU Mustangs and number 22 Tulane Green Wave. Wow, Tulane last year and this year they had a great year. Remember last year in the Cotton Bowl they beat USC by 1 point. And I think this game is in Tulane, Louisiana, or New Orleans. Yep, it is. Home game for Tulane. I gotta pick them. And I hope they do win, since I live in South Louisiana, but I'm not a Tulane fan. But I wish them all the best. And I will watch them play in their bowl game. Another game that's happening at the same time is the Sun Belt Championship between Appalachian State Mountaineers against the Troy Trojans. I assume this game is... I assume this is a home game for Troy. Yes, it is. But it seems like every year Appalachian State always pulls off a big win, so I'll pick them. Why not? Alright, and then Saturday night is the Big Ten Championship. The number 2 Michigan Wolverines, undefeated, taking on number 16 Iowa Hawkeye. Oh, wow, Iowa has 10 wins. Let me see. Who are Iowa's losses to? Who did they lose to? Iowa lost to at Penn State, 31 to nothing, man. And versus Minnesota at home loss, 12 to 10. Wow, they've got a lot of low-scoring games. Look at these low-scoring games. They beat Wisconsin 15 to 6. They lost to Minnesota 12 to 10. They beat Northwestern 10 to 7. Shut out Rutgers 22 to nothing. They beat Illinois 15 to 3, and they beat Nebraska 13 to 10. Wow. This is one. They must have a terrible offense. Reminds me of the LSU Tigers. Well, they're the opposite. They have a great offense, but a terrible defense. And now they got to play Michigan. There was no way in hell Iowa's going to win this match. No way. This is going to be a beating. This is going to be a slaughter. Alright, and the game that's also happening at the same time is the ACC Championship game between number 14 Louisville against number 4 Florida State. Somehow Louisville lost to Kentucky. Was that a home loss? Was that game at home or on the road? That game was at home. They lost to Kentucky at home. And at that point, Kentucky wasn't ranked. Well, this will still be a good game though. This will be a much better game than the Big Ten. And yes, I know that Florida State lost their quarterback for the rest of the year. That's a damn shame. I got Louisville pulling this one off. All right, that's it. Tiebreaker. Am I gonna predict the Alabama Georgia game? The score? I don't know. I think the score will be like all their other conference championship games, right? A lot of them were close. All right, submit. All right. And yes, this is my first time doing this season because, like I said earlier, I didn't really watch much college football this year due to the CFL season. But now that's over with. This is when college football gets good, anyways. All right. So now you've seen my predictions. Now let's talk about my predictions of the rankings. So I created another screen here. So this is it. These are the two semifinals that we at the Rose Bowl game in Pasadena, and the All-State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans at the Superdome on New Year's Day. That's right. Remember, this is the final year with the 4-team playoff format. Man, can we have an 8-team playoff format? No, 8-team, not 18. 8-team. I know that sounds similar, right? I don't know why does it have to be a 12-team playoff format next year? Are they trying to be like the NFL? You know, because I think in the NFL there's 12 teams in the playoffs, which means 2 teams have to have a bye. I don't know, man. They're making all these changes next year. This is going to be like a whole new league. It is. The Pac-12 is going to be dead after this year. A lot of teams are moving to a different conference. It's weird that all this is happening next year. It's weird. No more SEC on CBS. I hope that's true. Alright. So, here are my rankings, my prediction rankings. Okay, this is not official because I have to move the logos, remove the logos. Yeah. This is the current rankings. The top 4 teams right now are Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State. The only reason why that is because they're all undefeated. Okay? Whereas Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama, they have 1 loss, but they have a shot. Yes, even Ohio State has a shot in the playoff because they need to have all the teams to lose so that they can somehow get in it. It happened last year. They lost at home to Michigan last year by 12 points, and they still got in it. That was like the committee's the reason why they got in it. The last spot is because the committee had no choice. That was like their final option. It's kind of like when Cincinnati was in it that one year. The only reason why they were in it, Cincinnati, was because they had no choice. That was their only option. But the committee, they're going to have a lot of stuff, a lot of thinking to do. That's why this is like the biggest weekend for conference championship Saturday and Friday and selection Sunday. The committee's got their hands full, hands tight. There's going to be 1 or 2 teams that are going to get mad. They're going to get pissed off. Usually it's 1 team that gets screwed out of it, but I think it's going to be 2. Possibly 3. Alright. So. Alright, so this is what I believe will be the Final 4 after my conference championship predictions. So I have Georgia losing. So they're going down. I have Michigan winning, which means Michigan will be number 1. Alright, so let me put Georgia in the middle. Okay? This is kind of fun. I'm moving the logos around like I'm playing some type of game. Michigan's number 1. I have Washington losing the rematch to Oregon, which means both teams have one loss. It depends how much. What if Oregon crushes Washington? Then they should be in it, right? I have Florida State losing to Louisville, so they're out. Florida State's out. They are out of the playoff. I have Texas winning, although I did say earlier I don't think that'll be a blowout. I think somehow that'll be a close game, the Big 12 championship. I think they'll win by, I don't know, a touchdown or maybe 10 points, but it won't be like a blowout, I don't think. It can happen, but sometimes Texas, you just never know, so, but they should be in it. Alabama should be in it because they beat the best team in the country, and they are the conference champions. Every year since this playoff Final Four was introduced back in, 2015, there's always been an SEC team in it. There has never been a year where there is no SEC team in it. You gotta have an SEC team in it, right? Here's the biggest question. Let's say Alabama barely beat Georgia by, a field goal. Should both teams be in it? Like 2 years ago? Here's another question. What if Alabama somehow crushes Georgia? Should Georgia still be in it? I don't think they should. Let's be honest. Georgia has had a weak schedule. Look at Georgia's schedule. Their schedule's weak. Really weak. It's like the weakest schedule I've seen. But they are still a great team, don't get me wrong. Alright. Michigan's number 1 for sure. Number 2, I think Oregon will beat Washington pretty easily. I do think. I think they'll beat them by 17 points. Three scores. So they should be in the Final Four. So currently Oregon's number 5. Florida State's out of it. Okay. So we'll put Oregon on the top row. Texas won. Remember, Texas beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, even though that was only the second week, but still, that was a huge game. Huge win. So Texas should be in it. They're a conference champion. Okay? We're going to put Washington down to the bottom here for now. Okay, we'll put Texas in the top row. Okay. Just bear with me, guys. I know this. I always do this type of video like once a year. All right. So I got Michigan, Oregon, and Texas in the Final Four. Who should the last spot be? Georgia, Ohio State, or Alabama? That is... Man, I have no idea. Uh-oh. I apologize if you heard that. If you heard that sound, I apologize. That is thunder. I just saw... I'm in my bedroom right now. I know I don't have face cam, but I just saw a big flash of lightning, and the curtains are shut. Yeah. That's how big that flash of lightning is. I thought the storm went by, and I'm recording this in the middle of the night. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, where was I? Okay. Who should the fourth spot be? Georgia or Alabama? Alabama had a tougher schedule than Georgia. I said Alabama. I predict Alabama will beat Georgia. In a close one, though. Maybe by 4 points or something like that. Close one. I can't see it being a blowout. I think Alabama should be the fourth team. So Washington, they're out because I predict they'll lose by 3 scores to Oregon in the rematch. Ohio State, they got nothing they really got nothing to get mad about because they lost to Michigan and they're not a conference champion. So I think the Final Four, as of my predictions, I got Michigan number 1, Oregon number 2, Texas number 3, Alabama number 4. That's with my after making my conference championship predictions. What if I'm right? What if this is correct? I will go crazy if this is the Final Four. Like if I get it correct. So that means number 1 Michigan will be playing against number 4 Alabama. That'll be in the All-State Sugar Bowl most likely. And number 2 Oregon will be facing number 3 Texas in the Rose Bowl. That's perfect because a Pac-12 team is always in the Rose Bowl and an SEC team is always in the Sugar Bowl. So, yeah. So if that's the Final Four, Michigan versus Alabama, ooh, who would win that game? I don't know, man. You never know about Alabama. That's the thing. They've been in this playoff so many times. I think Oregon versus Texas will be a great game, a great matchup. I have no idea which team's better between Oregon or Texas. If I have to pick, probably. Oh man, that's a tough one. Oregon versus Texas? Ooh. Well, anyway. So that means Georgia will be number 5. Washington will be number 6. Ohio State will be number 7. Or maybe Ohio State 6, Washington 7, and Florida State 8. Because I have Florida State losing to Louisville. Alright? So this is my Final Four. Okay? As of my predictions. What if this is correct? I'll go crazy if this is correct. And I hope it is. I hope I'm right. Now let's talk about what happens if this team wins and this team loses, okay? So I mentioned Florida State, they got a limit. Let me put them back in the picture. If you're Florida State, you must win. If you're Washington, you must win. If you're Georgia, you must win. If you're Alabama, you must win. If you're Texas, you must win. If you're Oregon, you must win. And if you're Michigan, you must win. Now, what about Ohio State? They're not playing. If you're Ohio State, you need to have Michigan losing. You need to have Georgia losing. You need to have Washington losing. You need to have Florida State losing. Oh crap, lightning. You might hear thunder again. It's about to be 2 a.m. and I'm doing this video while it's lightning and thundering outside. Yeah, the bigger the flash lightning, the louder the thunder. So again, I'm sorry about that. Again, if you're Ohio State, you need to have Michigan losing, Georgia losing, Washington losing, Texas losing, which means you need to have Alabama winning and Oregon winning and Florida State losing. Golly, that's a lot to ask for if you're Ohio State. I'll be shocked if Ohio State somehow gets in the Final Four. Yeah. Okay. If you're Alabama, you need to have Texas losing because they'll have 2 losses. Even though Texas beat Alabama, you need to beat Georgia and have Texas lose if you're Alabama. Okay? Florida State, you win, you get in. You lose, you don't get in. If you're Washington, same thing. You win, you get in. You lose, you don't get in. Oregon, same thing, because if they lose, they would get 2 losses. Same thing with Texas. Now, Georgia, somehow Georgia can still be in it if they still lose. If Georgia loses, but they'll still get in, then you need to have Texas losing. You need to have Florida State losing. And I guess Michigan as well. Dude, this is, man, there's so much. So much can happen. Unbelievable. This is why we're like, why can't we have the 12-team playoff format this year? Exactly. We'll see what happens. Now, if the top 4 teams right now, if the top 4 teams win, let's say the current top 4, they all win. Will they all be in it? Yeah, they would be. They would be. All right. So let's say Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State, they all win, which means they're all conference champions. That means the final 4 would be number 1, Georgia, taking on number 4, Florida State, and number 2, Michigan, taking on number 3, Washington. Which means Georgia versus Florida State will be in the Sugar Bowl, and Michigan versus Washington will be in the Rose Bowl. I'm afraid if it's Georgia versus Florida, I'm afraid that's going to be a blowout. Because like I said, Florida State lost their quarterback. They played against the Florida Gators, a pretty crappy Florida team. Florida State didn't look so well in that game against the Gators. So Michigan versus Washington might be a pretty good one too. But I can kind of see that one being a blowout as well. Because like I said earlier, Washington, they had a lot of close wins. Yeah. I'm not saying they're not like the TCU Horned Frogs last year. No. No. All right. I think that's all I got to say. So, yeah. The national championship game is in Houston. What if the Texas Longhorns win the national championship in Houston? Wow, that'd be something, right? That'd be something. They're in Austin, Texas, though, but still, you win the national championship in your state. You know, it's like LSU winning it in New Orleans, you know. Hey, that'd be cool. It's like, hey, say hello to the SEC, you know. Alright, well, that's it. Also, if y'all remember, past couple of years I made a big, every year after conference championship Saturday, I would make this big video of me predicting which teams will go to which bowl games. I might do that again this year if I have the time. And that video is always long, so I might do that. But of course, I will every year I do my Bowl Mania prediction video. So yeah, and I create a group, and if you want to join my group, you can do that. I'll have more information on that once the Bowl Mania is open. All right. So, but yeah, this is, like I said at the beginning, this is probably the biggest conference championship games and Selection Sunday ever. Because, like I said, I also said that there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that are not going to be happy when they're not in it. Yep. Georgia fans would be one of them if they lose. Texas fans, yeah, same thing maybe. I don't know. Yeah, like, what if, like I said earlier, I know I said so much, what if Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State, they all win their conference championship? And Texas, they'll also win their conference championship, even though they have one loss. Texas won't be happy. Texas fans won't be happy that they won't make it. I believe Texas is a better team than Florida State, especially after Florida State lost their quarterback. I also believe Texas is a better team than Washington. It's all about strength of schedule as well. Strength of schedule. Okay? Georgia's strength of schedule, not good. So I'm afraid if they lose, I think they're out. But if they lose, they need to have Michigan losing, Florida State losing as well, and Texas. If you're Ohio State, a lot needs to happen for you fans, Ohio State fans. You need to have Georgia losing, Michigan losing, Washington losing, and Florida State losing. If that's the case, meaning Oregon wins, Alabama wins, yeah, Ohio State would be in the Final Four. It would be. But I don't think that'll happen. I'll be shocked if Ohio State's in the Final Four. I will be. But I might be just as shocked if I get this Final Four correct. Like I said, as of my conference championship predictions, this is my Final Four. Michigan 1, Oregon 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. Michigan versus Alabama in the All-State Sugar Bowl, and Oregon versus Texas in the Rose Bowl. What if the national championship is a rematch between Texas and Alabama? And Alabama wins the championship. Oh my gosh. And I remember after their loss to Texas, they had to play South Florida. They didn't look so good against South Florida, Alabama. And the following Monday, after they played South Florida, I was listening to the Paul Feinbaum show. And for those of you that listen to the Paul Feinbaum show, you know a lot of his callers are from Alabama. And a lot of those guys, they say that Alabama season's over. Well, it's not. Now it's not. Somehow, Alabama can win the national championship. What a story that'll be, right? Nick Saban winning it, and he'll break the record, right? Yeah. Anyway, guys, if you listen to this whole video, you are awesome. You are the MVP. This is always going to be a fun weekend for college football, and then the Sunday after that, the Selection Sunday. It's weird that it's during an NFL Sunday, like, you think they wouldn't do that on a Sunday. You think they would do that maybe Monday afternoon or Tuesday night like they do. Tuesday nights, that's the college football top 25 show, I guess they didn't, I don't know, I guess Sunday afternoon's their best option just to get it over with. Man, the committee has a lot of thinking to do. I think, in my opinion, the playoffs should be 8 teams. 8. Because, no teams will have a bye. Why does it have to be 12? That's weird. Oh well. Better than the BCS National Championship, I guess. Alright guys, I know this video's always long, but, that's what happens when a lot of things can happen. So yeah, if anyone, if you agree with my predictions, let me know. Or let me know, who do you got? Who's your Final Four? Tell me your conference championship winners, mainly the big ones, and then tell me who you got in your Final Four. This is what I got. And you know what? Because this is the toughest weekend of the season, I hope I get this right. Yep. But earlier I said I can somehow see Oklahoma State beating Texas. So if that's the case, Texas would be out of it. Then I guess Georgia would be number 4. Alabama would be number 3. Okay. I can't really see Washington beating Oregon again. It's hard to beat the same team twice. Okay. That's it. That's the only thing I can think of as of my predictions. I can kind of see Texas somehow not winning the Big 12. If that's the case, Alabama would be number 3 and Georgia would be number 4. Okay. But I'm confident Texas will win that game because they're a heavy favorite. If Florida State had their quarterback, I'm confident they would win that game. And if that was the case, they would be number 4. And I guess Alabama would not be in it. And Georgia. Wow. Alright, guys, that's all I gotta say. Enjoy the conference championship games, and yeah, it's always going to be great. And then Bowl Mania will be right around the corner. But first, you got that Army-Navy game. Both teams are 5-6. Yeah, which means one team will be in the bowl game, one team will not be in a bowl game. So that's always a big game for them. I usually cheer for Army because there was a time, remember when Navy, they beat Army like 15 years in a row? Yeah. So, alright, guys. Thank you for listening. And, let's hope the committee gets it right. Let's hope there won't be any complaining on Sunday. Let's hope. Alright. That's it. Bye-bye. Enjoy the games.